Hearing the Rangers running every morning at about 7 in the morning, this would have been in the late 60s, early 70s, and you'd hear them singing. And then every now and again there'd be various courses or units marched. They'd be marching up and down the camp, and then of course the band which was beside us. And everybody in the school wanted to march behind that band.
Well, I remember a scheme of defence has been called. I must have been only about 7 or 8 years of age. I'm walking out the front door and all you could see is all these men with guns and helmets lying up in ditches, or they were on their Singars. They might be doing Singar training even times around that, and you'd be going over, what are you doing? What are you doing? And your father would be, get away, get away.
The massive thing that I remember from the camp was just the community. Like everybody knew everybody, and even to this day when I meet others around Kildare or Newbridge or whatever that have retired or gone on, or even families, and some of the great families that are still living here in the camp, the parents are still living here in the camp. There's not one set thing I could remember or think of that sets out. It's just there's many things, and that was the one thing. It was just the massive community spirit. It was just a fantastic place to live.
Well, for me, what stands out is my father served overseas in the early 80s to Lebanon, and I can remember him coming home and we going into the Curragh to meet him. And the joy of just seeing him after not seeing him for so long, and the joy in the faces of people that were meeting all their own families. It was just a really special place at that time and a great memory.
I went to school in the Curragh, and I remember if we'd go to Mass for any of the parades or if there was a big Mass, and my dad would always be there usually with obviously his unit, and I always just remember being so proud and delighted with myself that I was saying to my friends, like, that's my daddy there, and he'd be in his uniform. And I used to just love that I could tell my friends about like my dad, my grandfather and all my family being in the army. I was always just so proud of that and of being from the Curragh.
We did look out for each other. We did make sure that there was this ethos of respect. It was camaraderie. And I suppose as I look back now and bring my own children here and I walk from one end of the camp, my dad was a cavalryman, so that was Plunkett, and we'd often walk down, and the memories that I'm trying to impart to my children, they look back and say, that must have been an unbelievable place you grew up in. And in reflection, it was an unbelievable place.
It's the biggest playground you could ever have, and from the Defence Force side or the Army side of it, it's the biggest training camp you could have too. Like, you have ample areas. I know when I was in different units, they were looking for having to go out, drive everywhere to training grounds, whether it's ranges or whatever. Here in the camp you have everything. It's fantastic, absolutely everything.
It was like being, you'd make up little stories. It was like you were in the jungle and you thought you were great. Like, it was just, there was so much to do there, and it was so fun for our kids. Like, even now, we still go out and it's still fun.
My mum herself served as a sister here in the military hospital, and that's where she met my dad. And as a result they settled in Newbridge, and that's where the connection starts. But I like to consider it as one of the biggest playgrounds in Ireland because of the wide open spaces that encourages you to get out, to get walking, to do various activities that are around the place. So it really is just a special place, and I think as you get older you really appreciate how special it is.
It was a proper community. It's a fantastic place to live. Going home from school at Pierce, I was living in at the time, would have been running up through the cadet school underneath the verandas, praying to God no one would let a roar at you because they could be all out on the square marching, or you'd hear them roaring and shouting, But unlike any other place you could have ever grown up and everyone looked after each other, everyone knew each other, leave your key in the door. It was a fantastic place to grow up.